I think recording started. Take her
Okay,
away. We'll see.
perfect. So hello everyone. My name is Elsie or Lenice, either one. I respond to both. I am a project manager over.
I'll see you. Sorry, I muted your phone by accident. You have to unmute yourself.
There we go. All right, we'll try that again. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So my name is Lenice or LC Miller. I respond to both. I am a project manager over at Penrod, who is focused on Salesforce implementations for healthcare and life sciences organizations. I also have my own small business in which my mission is to bridge the digital divide, one tech at a time. And right now, I'm focusing on making artificial intelligence and CRM technology more accessible for all. And so I do workshops like this. I build out blogs or articles and try to share resources to really get everyone to close the gap of those that have access to the technology, those that use it every single day and are experts at it, and then everyday people that literally don't even know it exists. Um, okay. So this particular course, I actually did this over at Dreaming in Color this year, and this was an introduction to ChatGPT and Prompt Engineering. The course itself is designed for both people that have never used the tool, but also hopefully relevant for those who are daily users of the tool. As we go through, we'll talk about how to craft effective prompts to get the best results. And with that, if there are no questions, we're going to dive in. Wonderful. So I like to ask people, and we could just pop it in the chat. I know it's just a few of you, but I like to know what is the percentage of US adults that have ever leveraged ChatGPT? Any guesses? No guesses? Okay, 15, 20. Okay, Jake going high on the high end. So it is actually 23%. Believe it or not, ChatGPT was released in November of 2022, and it didn't take long to surpass the 1 million mark after 5 days, but that didn't actually get to everyday people. And so, probably about 2 months later in January, it was up to 100 million active users. But still, again, that's like 23% of US adults. So, if you're using it every single day, you're way ahead of the curve. So, what we're going to talk through today is some key vocabulary. I think it's important to get on the same page with language. Talking about ethical, responsible use anytime you're thinking about artificial intelligence or new technology, you want to try and understand how to use it responsibly. Talking about the foundations of prompting, real world applications that may be relevant for developers, Salesforce platform users, hopefully all in their personal life as well. And then last but not least, rounding it out with personalizing ChatGPT. So, key vocabulary. Think about a prompt as a request or question that you would ask your friend. You ask them something and you expect a response in return. That is exactly what a prompt is. So, think about you're asking something specific. And if you're asking your friend something specific, you usually like to include some context or some information so that they can track the conversation. And so, similarly to prompt engineering, you want to try and craft your questions and instructions in a prompt or in a precise way so that you can get the most accurate and most useful responses. Artificial intelligence, I don't know how familiar this group is with artificial intelligence, but just think of it as systems or machines that are capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. So think about autonomous vehicles, Alexa, Siri, recommendations on Spotify or Apple Music. These are all examples of artificial intelligence. Natural language processing, just think of that as a field of artificial intelligence that focuses on getting computers to understand, interpret, and respond to just everyday language. So think about text to speech systems, language translations, or even chatbots. You're able to talk and converse with these different tools, and they're able to generate a response back to you in that same language. Generative AI, just think about this term, you separate the two. It is artificial intelligence that generates net new context. So just think about using prompts to create things like essays, artwork. Nowadays, you can even compose music. So just think about generative AI as using AI to generate something new. Large language models. So just think about that as the wealth of data that a computer has to learn not only the data itself, but the interactions between that data and kind of that network of information to help you get a more sophisticated response to everyday questions or requests. GPT is just a generative pre-trained transformer. This is just a type of large language model that was developed by OpenAI. And really, again, these models, they typically can generate essays, answer questions, and even give you back and forth conversations. So that's just a high level of the key vocabulary that I hope provides a base understanding of ChatGPT, or at least artificial intelligence, and hopefully that'll help the rest of this make sense. So, ethical and responsible use. Just imagine ethical and responsible use is like following traffic rules. You just want to make sure that you're being fair, you're being accurate, you're not having inappropriate conversations because likely you will get biased or inappropriate responses. Identifying and addressing biases. Like I mentioned, these tools are trained on a wealth of data. There is biases built into that data, and it's our responsibility to actually detect the biases and then respond to it by, giving it a thumbs down or saying, hey, that was a wrong response. Pretty much, again, taking the onus on you to say, hey, this is biased or this is wrong. The unethical piece of prompts or responses, try to refrain or refine or rephrase your prompts. So if it gives you a bad response, you can mark it as like a bad response, but also that could be an indication that you should try to rephrase what you're asking. So use things like, even use slang when you're having conversations with these tools. The idea is that you use more diverse and inclusive language so that the tools will better interact with you and others. I always tell people, human beings are usually the most dangerous security threat to organizations. It is very important that when you use tools like this, do not include personal data, do not include company data. I always tell people, use a like put brackets, put role or put title. Definitely don't use names, but there are ways around using ChatGPT and not giving away a whole bunch of information. Last but not least is just the ethical prompt engineering. AI is changing probably by the minute. And so it's really hard to probably keep up with all the ethical issues that are going around artificial intelligence, but it'd really be good to just keep informed of those things because it will help you understand kind of what things to look for in these different tools. So let's dive into the foundations of prompting. So this is often where I tell people to go ahead and pop up your laptop and we can kind of have a back and forth conversation about it. So the foundations of an effective prompt. So just think about a prompt again as a conversation that you are having with a friend. You wouldn't have a conversation with your friend and not give them any context. You would ask them specifically what it is that you need them to do or what they need to respond to. And then in addition to that, being concise. ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence tools, they're not like your coworker or friend or associate that you don't care for. It really could care less. Just ask it exactly what you need it to do, and it will give you a response that you're looking for. As I mentioned, using that natural language. So if you're having conversations with a friend or a coworker or in another professional environment, you want to just talk the way that you would talk to human beings. And tools like ChatGPT will give you that response. I always tell people, ChatGPT, it is not Google, it's not Bing, it's not a search engine. It is a tool that's meant to generate net new context. So asking it yes or no questions, you're not even scratching the surface of what it can be used for. Considering style and tone, I know for me, before I started leveraging a tool like ChatGPT, the only tones I could think of were formal or professional or casual. I didn't realize that there's a whole breadth of different tones that you can ask it to respond to. So I would say even familiarizing yourself with different tones and how to have conversations with different people, that will actually make your prompt even more effective. And then last but not least is trial and error. So I have played with these tools probably way too much for me to actually admit in a public space, but practice, practice, practice. It's just one of those things that the more that you interact with these tools, the more familiar that you'll get. So two kind of frameworks that I speak about, these are only two. At this point, everyone's created their own framework. It's all the same essentially. So the two main ones are role task format or context task format. Again, when you're talking to a friend, you want to give them some context behind the story. You don't just dive right in. You want to give some context, give it an actual task if you're asking them to respond or give you feedback, and then also the format. So if you're asking for, as a developer, given a team of 5 developers, create a timeline for completing a mobile app. You're giving it context, you're giving it a task. You're not necessarily asking it format, but it at least has the context in order to complete the task. And then role task format, if you're talking to a friend or a colleague, you can say, hey, as a project manager, generate a project plan for a new software development project. That is a simple prompt that enables almost anyone, regardless of their background, to create a project plan for a software development project. That's one of the beauties of tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI tools. You don't have to have a lot of background knowledge about these things. You can literally ask this tool to provide you information as long as you give it enough context as to what you're trying to achieve. So when I asked you to pop open your laptop, I want to talk more about roles, perspectives, and personas. So again, this is just telling ChatGPT what role you wanted to assume. So I think initially about an intern, and I'm thinking specifically in the nonprofit space. So when you have an intern come into your organization, hopefully they're not just getting coffee, you're asking them for new and fresh ideas. You can ask ChatGPT to assume the role of an intern and give you new ideas about something that you've probably just been spinning on for the past 6 months. Additionally, you can ask for a thought partner. I think it's really important when you're thinking about a topic, you think you know all about that topic. Wouldn't it be great to have someone there to critique what you think you know, or someone there to expand kind of your vision and what you're thinking about looking towards? That's what ChatGPT is good for. A critic. Again, we all think we have great ideas. Sometimes they're not new ideas. Sometimes they're not actually that great. So you can ask ChatGPT, assume the role of a critic. Here's my ideas. Based on these ideas, what did I miss? What things seem to be particularly good, or what things would be bad? Again, this is great for brainstorming because you can throw a whole bunch of ideas at it and you can have someone immediately across from you to give you real-time feedback about what you're asking it. A teacher. So I actually use this a lot, or I guess previously because I don't use it anymore, but used to use it a lot to teach people how to leverage CPQ. So CPQ is configure, price, quote. It's a offering from Salesforce to help improve the configure, price, and quote features, but it's really hard to explain to everyday people. And so I leverage ChatGPT to not only act as a teacher, but also leverage metaphors. So again, when there's extremely complex topics that you might need to break down to just everyday people, ChatGPT is great in doing that for you. So you don't have to think about I won't say dumb it down. How do I simplify this so that anyone can understand? And that allows you to continue thinking at your 30,000 foot view and having someone there to kind of break down your 30,000 foot view a little bit more. So I always take a pause here because I like people to just literally go into ChatGPT, think about something that you've been brainstorming on, or think about a problem that you've been either just spinning your wheels on or you don't really know if you know the next step of it, go ahead. Ask ChatGPT to assume the role of an intern, a thought partner, a critic, a teacher, metaphor. If there's a new topic that you're trying to learn about, I think it's always funny because people are always like quantum physics, explain quantum physics and metaphors. I still don't get it, but you could leverage ChatGPT to explain that. So I'll just give a minute here. I hope everyone takes just a minute to go in and ChatGPT, which is chatgpt.com, log in or create an account. Once you do, you should be brought to, actually, you know what? Correction, since this presentation, you don't even have to log in. Just go to chatgpt.com. You should be taken to 4.0 Mini, which is their latest free model. And then you can ask it all of the things that I've spoken about. I don't like waiting that much. So I'm going to continue. But I really do hope that you go into ChatGPT, you have these ideas, and you're able to assume these different roles to challenge your ideas, to make you think about new ideas, and even, again, being able to explain your ideas to other people for them to understand. Let's see. There you go. So Salesforce AI certification, like I said, the CPQ certification, it is a great resource to help you understand CPQ. I've leveraged it to build out a community engagement application. So it literally can break down, here's the objects that you need, here's the fields that you need, here's some automation that you can build. Understanding, again, you want to review those responses because they might not have the latest best practices. But I think for probably if you're a product owner or someone who has, that 30,000 foot view of Salesforce, I think it's great to kind of help you start thinking about the different objects and fields that you'll need. All right, so as I mentioned, there is a framework that people often use. It's usually task format in either context or role. And once you have that, you try to think about the order of importance for ChatGPT. So when you're giving ChatGPT a task, you're giving it the bare minimum. Create a workout plan for the next 6 months. That doesn't tell anything about you, doesn't tell you anything about how you train, what you're working towards. It's bare minimum, pretty much. If you add context or a role to that, it can then improve your response. So maybe I'm trying to lose 10 pounds in the next 2 weeks. What are some techniques that I could use to do that? That's providing additional context. Or you could say, assume the role of a personal trainer or assume the role of a basketball coach. Teach me how to improve my jump shot. Could be used for that as well. And then last but not least, it's nice to have more so than necessary, but format or tone. And so you think about format, think about lists, think about tables, think about paragraphs, a CSV document, code, literally. As long as you tell it what type it's supposed to output, then that's what it's going to actually output. Me, myself, I genuinely did not realize that there were so many different tones and so many different formats. But by teaching myself that, I'm able to leverage ChatGPT a little bit more. So again, a really good prompt has a role, has some context, has a task, format, and tone. So again, if you want to keep it really simple, generate a 3-month learning plan for obtaining my PMP, or generate a 3-month learning plan for my CPQ certification. Craft a marketing campaign for an app. Could be improved if you actually told it what kind of app that you're building or what problem it's meant to solve. People also have leveraged it as a trip planner. So create an itinerary for a trip to Italy. Again, that is bare minimum. It's a task, but it doesn't tell you anything about the trip that you're planning, who you're going with, how much money you plan to spend, where in Italy you're even going. So you want to try and provide more context because that will create a better response. So a sample prompt that I put together was assuming the role. So you are planning a family vacation. So you can say that you are a vacation planner, you are a trip planner, whatever the case is. You're planning a family vacation. A little bit more context. I have a budget, I have a preference, and I've got a family. In addition to that, I want you to complete the following. I want 3 destination options that fit the budget and preference that I provided. Create a simple itinerary for one destination that allows you to create the itinerary for another. And suggest ways to save money without compromising on fun. So you have 2 adults, 2 children. You want to make sure that you have something fun, something maybe romantic. Ask ChatGPT to do that. And if you notice, all of this is in a single prompt. ChatGPT can literally keep track of an entire conversation that you've had. It actually has more memory than other tools like Claude or Gemini or Copilot. You can literally, I think it's called context retaining or something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but it holds on to the context. So if you start a chat, you can literally keep on that same chat almost endlessly. So the rest of this prompt, literally, this is what I consider a good prompt because, again, it has a role. It's provided context, a wealth of context. And then I've given it 3 different tasks, and that's going to output it. Again, I didn't say like what type what format that I wanted in. So it could be bullets, it could be a table, could be a spreadsheet, but I could add to that and say what format to give it. But this is a really strong prompt in order to expand that, create an itinerary for a trip to Italy. So I want to pause because I'm going to keep going, but I want to take a pause for questions or comments. I accept that. Okay, moving on. As I mentioned, I knew nothing about the many different formats and tones that a tool could have. And so when you're working with computers, I always tell people they're not much smarter than ones and zeros. Not much has changed. It's still a yes, no, on, off, 1, 0. Computers are still that simple. I'll say that. So when you think about that, you have to tell it exactly what it is that you want. So a format, like I said, you can have a list. It can be a report. It can be code. It could be an outline. But you have to be specific about what it is that you're looking for so that it can actually give you that response in the formats you want. Again, I was very simple, didn't know much about tone, but I do know now that you can have formal, you can have persuasive, you can have humorous, it could be neutral. Again, these are things that you could have conversations with the individual on, and you can tell it, I want you to reply in that tone, or I want you to assume the tone that I have in generating your response. So these are really great. And I don't know, Jake, if I mentioned it, but I'm happy to share this presentation after so everyone can have a running list of formats, tones, example of a good prompt, because this has really helped me understand how to leverage ChatGPT, but a bit more. So there's this notion of a mega prompt. And so it sounds a little bit more serious than it is. It's kind of like the previous prompt where we talked about you're planning a family vacation. We'll do, Chris. You're planning a family vacation. So you're giving it a role, using that context, similar to that, and then summarize key points. I think this is actually really helpful when you're finding an article or a YouTube video. It's really helpful to say, assume a role of a social media expert. You are reviewing a list of YouTube videos that are around XYZ topic. Summarize the key points of those videos or of that article. Provide a detailed analysis of that, and then suggest 3 actionable steps to maybe improve your video or improve your article based on ChatGPT's analysis. Again, you can ask it 3 different tasks in a single prompt, and it will keep up. Ensure your response is in some type of tone, and maybe you have a word limit. So I know a lot of people are starting to use these in grant writing. because you have to write a grant and you have to maintain a certain token limit. You want to sound professional but personable. And then, of course, you have your objectives. And like I said, I've seen this really useful in the grant writing space. I'll take a break for water here. So like I said, I'll share this, and I encourage people to play with this. This is just one example of a mega prompt, but I promise you there's so much more that you can do with this tool. So I'll be sharing this, but I think this is just some of the prompts that actually go into just everyday real world applications of a tool like ChatGPT. So the original prompt, aka a simple prompt, is draft a response to a customer complaint about delayed shipping. You can actually include a lot more information. Like I said, I use personable, but here it uses empathetic response to a customer complaint about a week delay on their order shipment. Sorry, losing. Offering a 10% discount on their next purchase as compensation. So this honestly takes a lot of weight off of forming responses that are professional, get to the point. It really just takes the guesswork out of a lot of everyday tasks. Content creation, like I said, it's really great when you have an idea and you need someone to help you write about it, someone to research it with you, someone to critique what you've written. It's a great tool for creating that content. So this example, write a 500-word blog post discussing the benefits and challenges of adopting renewable energy sources. Like I said, this is a bit more than just writing a blog post. You want to tell it, again, exactly what you want, and it can provide you the exact response that you're looking for. And then last but not least, like I said, is learning assistance. Again, this works really well in the Salesforce space for me, especially when it comes to change management. It's helping people understand a topic that they're not very familiar with. And so you might not be the greatest at breaking down Salesforce to everyday users or project management to everyday people, or even more, Salesforce development for everyday people. But you can leverage a tool like ChatGPT to say, hey, here is this complex topic that I need to communicate to an audience that knows nothing about said topic. Based on that, give me a blog post, give me a training document, give me bullets on how to respond to that in a change management plan. These are all things, again, that you can ask ChatGPT as long as you engineer your prompts just a little bit more. So one thing I always like to let people do is, by all means, you could take a break here, grab some of these engineered prompts, and then I'm not going to show it here, but there's a way to templatize them so that you can always find them. So if no one has, I'm just going to let you take a minute to probably craft your own response for these 3 different scenarios. And I'd love to know kind of what you come back with. Maybe it's content creation. Maybe it's communicating with your colleague that you may not care for, or having a really hard conversation with your boss about performance. Just think about ways you can expand on the prompts maybe that you've already created. Grant writing, again, is it's a game changer for nonprofits. That's why I said my mission is to bridge the digital divide one tech at a time, and my hope is to really work with nonprofits to make their lives a little bit easier. Okay, moving forward. So business and personal use cases. So I've talked a lot about customer support, learning assistance, again, intern, content creation. Just where you're starting to see it, probably businesses or tools that you interact with, is customer support. You're starting to see generation or being able to generate new content. I think Canva is a great example. You can now leverage some of their newer tools like Magic Edit in order to generate new content. Additionally, data analysis. Not my strong suit at all. However, I leverage ChatGPT quite often to take a spreadsheet and make it make sense. It's a really great tool. I don't recall if the free version allows you to do it, but if you log in, it's a free account. You don't ever have to pay for it. And it allows you to upload documents, pictures, talk to it. So I always recommend people, like, if you have no problem having another account of some sort, just sign up for ChatGPT. As I mentioned, things like customer support, content generation, all of these things are really just increasing your efficiency. You're not having to take the time to do something that maybe you would pass off to an intern or that you would expect a computer to do without you having to interface it with it at all. I say improve decision making because, again, you're spending less time on mundane tasks, and now you're hopefully able to think on a more strategic level. And so you'd be able to make more informed decisions based off just that free time that you now have. And then last but not least, like I said, you probably see it at this point on every website, some sort of chat bot that allows you to talk with the company, ask questions, create cases. These are all meant to provide you as an end user or customer a better experience. And then let's see. Personal creative uses. Me, myself, I feel like when I was younger, I was more creative. I don't know what happened. I'm not as creative anymore. So it's a great tool if you like to develop stories. I think it's great for parents that may be running out of books or just unique stories to tell their kids that aren't the typical stories from like the 90s. I don't know if they've developed. I don't know if they developed since then. I don't tell a lot of stories, obviously. But I think it's really great for that. If you have younger kids, you can't think of a story, use ChatGPT. It helps a lot. Hobby-related prompts, like I said, if you're looking to do a new task or learning new skills, rather, if you're looking to do things like bike riding or snowboarding, or again, you just want to learn Salesforce development, use ChatGPT to make it work for you. The idea behind this is same with efficiency. The idea is that you can be more creative because you're not thinking about the simple things of what to write in a blog post. You're thinking about all the different ideas that you can put in your blog post. Personal growth and development. Of course, if you're learning new skills, if you are on a workout plan, if you're working towards some personal or professional goal, you have an opportunity to leverage this tool to do so. And then the enhanced problem solving skills. I always tell people that ChatGPT is not a critical thinker. You still have to use critical thinking as a human being. However, ChatGPT can help, again, just highlight any areas that you're not considering, challenging your thought process on how to actually improve or solve a problem. And it really is just really helpful to have someone or something else to bounce ideas off of. All right, so last but not least, I want to ask, since we have so few, I want to find out what is everyone's kind of familiarity or usage of ChatGPT. And it could be not at all, it could be daily, once a month. What are you all, or how often are you all leveraging this tool? You can just pop it in the chat. Oh, really, Jake?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the responses are, for me, like I said, today's the first time I've actually used it for anything productive. It looks like some people use it more than once a week, a couple of times a week. So it seems like it has, some people use it, but using it to create formula fields.
I've used it for that too.
I like that.
I'm a little rusty on my formula fields, and it has saved me quite a few times for sure. So yeah, I think that's good to know simply because I'm about to go into something that's hopefully better or more tailored to people that have had exposure to it quite a bit. But again, I'm going to share this presentation. So as you kind of go through your learning journey, you can come back to it and be like, oh, what was that thing that she talked about? I can actually use this to improve ChatGPT experience for myself. So custom instructions. These are really powerful. So just think about giving ChatGPT guidelines on how to respond. So you can give it, hey, I speak in this format. I'm professional, I'm casual, I'm personable, I'm humorous. You can put this into the custom instruction so that you don't have to, every single time that you have a conversation with ChatGPT, you don't have to tell it what your preferred tone or style is. It already has those instructions embedded into it so that it always produces a response in your desired tone or style. The idea behind these custom instructions is to save you time. Again, if you find yourself constantly saying the same thing, put it in custom instructions. It's going to save you quite a bit of time. And then consistency. So if you're using it things for like grant writing or emails, it's really good to just make sure that you have a consistent tone in all things that you do. Like I said, maybe customer service. If you're always dealing with disgruntled customers, you could say always assume a professional tone, an understanding tone, and some sort of resolution. Then it always knows to look for those three things or provide you those three things every time that you interact with it. The setup is really simple. However, it does require you to actually log in. Otherwise, would it be custom instructions? So once you log in, it's really easy. I believe it's in the upper right-hand corner is your settings. So you go into settings, and then there'll be actually, you know what? I'm going to do a real-time share, and instead of just telling you, I'm going to show you. Now I lost you all. There you go. Okay, so right now I'm logged in to ChatGPT. So again, you'll notice the different models are on the left-hand side. So again, if you log in, you will at least have access to 4.0, I believe. But then if you don't log in, you have access to 4.0 mini. And then there's just a legacy model. Not quite sure why you would use that legacy model, but it's there if you wanted to. Next up is just creating a new chat. You'll always see that in the upper left-hand corner. Now, what you'll see on the left-hand side is going to be different based on whether or not you're logged in. So if you are logged in, you'll see a running tab of your different chats. In addition to that, you will see custom GPTs. I will not go into custom GPTs in its entirety, but just imagine if there is very unique tasks that you're looking to do, things like research. One of the ones that I used was an agile product owner to create user stories. These are literally solutions that allow you to generate new content around a specific topic. So like I said, I have an agile product owner. I create diagrams, a mobile app mock-up designer. Like I said, I was working on a community engagement app and try to leverage this tool to see what it was going to help me with. So I encourage you, really, the world is your oyster. If you just create a ChatGPT account, you can come in and explore things like the GPTs and start to see how those can be leveraged in your daily life. So as I mentioned, custom instructions. I believe this is always now in the right-hand corner. So what you'll do is go down to Customize ChatGPT, and then you'll be brought to the custom instructions. So I think one of the things that it started to learn about me was that I'm a project manager, that I work in the healthcare and life sciences industry. Those are things that you can put into the custom instructions. You can tell it how you would like it to respond if you find yourself always asking for things in bullet form or always asking for things in table form, this is a great place for you to put it in there so that you don't have to put that in every single prompt that you start. And then enable for new chats. Obviously, it can't go back in time, but if you go ahead and set these up now, the hope is that it will be an extreme time saver in the future. So I think that's a pretty good overview of those custom instructions. While I'm here, I'll just go into where I saw that ChatGPT is starting to understand me more than myself. But if you go into settings, so still in the upper right-hand corner, you go to settings and you go to personalization. That's what it is. Personalization and memory. Memory and custom instructions are a little different. Memory is what ChatGPT essentially learns about you. So if you're using it every single day, there's a chance that ChatGPT is kind of picked up on what you're or what you're asking or what context that you've provided. It stores that in its memory, and then it starts to use that in its responses. So right now, you notice it is just a long running list of, hey, I have a business. I'm a network engineer. I don't have a newsletter, but I'm developing one. So it's kind of crazy how much it remembers of you. So if you ever feel like you're getting responses that are starting to sound the same or not along the lines of what you want, you can come into settings and clear ChatGPT's memory. So that would essentially allow it to start fresh, forget everything about you, and you'd be able to assume pretty much a new personality with it. Last but not least, I always tell people ChatGPT now has an app. And the beauty about that app is that you could take pictures, you can talk to it, like record the same way you record voice notes, and it automatically creates text, speech to text. And it's conversational, like literally you can, you know what, I'm going to do it while I'm here because I think this is cool. It's really, really cool. So if you go into the app, again, you have to be logged in to use these features. So if you go into the app, oh, let me not press it. In the bottom, there we go. All right. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see this little icon, and it's going to allow you to start having a conversation. And when you know it's listening, you can say, hey, ChatGPT, provide me a story about Salesforce CPQ.
It sounds like you're looking to demonstrate how ChatGPT can be used interactively to generate stories or content on demand. If you're giving this example to show how people can use ChatGPT for something like Salesforce CPQ, here's a quick story you can share.
So I think that's pretty cool, honestly. And all of those chats that you start from voice are then added into your chat history, so you can actually go back and start chatting with it all over again, and it has all that context remembering or all that context stored. So I believe that was. Oh, I actually just want to. I want to share this with you all, so you know it's here. But then when it's in the presentation, you know that it is available for you to view. So some sample instructions that I think are really helpful. Again, as you are figuring out the different use cases for yourself, you can start to figure out instructions that would be relevant for you. So maybe you are creating blogs or generating content that might be biased in some way, shape, or form. You already know that ChatGPT is AI. It doesn't have to mention that every single time. Probably if you're starting new with this tool, you'll start to see this more where it's like, hey, I'm AI. I may not know this information. It's like, yeah, we know, we get it. You can tell it to never mention that again. If events are beyond your scope or knowledge, I think this one's really powerful because it will not hallucinate. It will simply tell you, I don't know. And then you can do your research as to why it doesn't know and kind of continue where it picks off. Breaking down complex problems or tasks into smaller or manageable steps, that really helps. Again, if you're learning new things or teaching people new things, then you can have a breakdown in order for you to communicate that easier to people that may not understand. With ChatGPT's latest model, it should now be citing credible sources. So you can always tell it to cite credible sources in every response with links so that you don't have to, again, like ask it, hey, give me a source for this. Give me the link to that source. You can go ahead and include that in your custom instructions so that it does that every time. If a mistake is made in a previous response, recognize it and correct it. Again, I think that's really powerful because ChatGPT knows that it can hallucinate. It knows that it can be wrong sometimes. But if you just tell it, hey, pretty much check your work. If you gave me a wrong response, fix it. And then last but not least, if a question is unclear, and this is great for communication, ask for more details to confirm your understanding before answering. I think ChatGPT has allowed me to be a better communicator simply because I know that I have to provide enough context to get something done, but I also have to be very clear about what it is that I want. And so I think this last one is really important as you start to explore the tool. You can let it know, hey, I'm new to this. I might be asking things that aren't necessarily clear. Go ahead, ask for my additional information before you try to give me a response. So those are some sample instructions that I think are really powerful. And like I said, I'll include this presentation or I'll share this with Jake and he'll share it out. And I think it's, like I said, you should be able to just copy and paste these sample instructions. And it'd be great to start to see how your responses differ with these instructions. So this is where I ask a favor. So as I said, my name is Lenice or LC Miller. I respond to both. You'll find me almost everywhere. With that, either I am LC Miller or Lenice Miller. What I want everyone to do, if possible, is to scan this QR code. It's going to take you to a survey. And then I want you all to give me feedback on how I can hopefully make this presentation, your experience with the presentation, what things that you might like to see in the future, where can I improve this presentation for others. So that is it for me. With 7 minutes to spare, I want to, Jake, if possible, open up to questions.
Yep, that was going to be my next step here. So open the floor. Yeah, go ahead, open the floor. If there's any questions out there for LC or myself, go ahead and ask away.
No questions.
I like that your app looks like it's using ChatGPT.
Right, and like I said, it's saved a lot of bad formulas, poorly designed flows. Is it worth it to buy the paid version? That depends. So if you find yourself wanting to use it for something every day, all day, then I tell people the free version or the paid version will allow you to essentially increase your limits so that you won't reach them. The free version gives you quite a bit, but only reason I pay for it is because I use it so frequently. I give trainings on it. I try to keep up to date with the latest and greatest features. But if you find yourself using it maybe 2 to 3 times a month, don't pay for it. It's not worth it. Thank you, Tom. And welcome to the Salesforce ecosystem. Did I read that right?
I think Chris is newer to the ecosystem.
Chris, sorry, that was it. Okay. Thank you for the feedback, Chris. What's the difference? Ooh, you are challenging me, aren't you? Good old friend Google. It says that ChatGPT 4, which everyone should have access to, is more accurate and less prone to hallucinations. So again, just keep in mind, that it might hallucinate. You just got to tell it. I'm literally trying to do the research on the difference between the two, and I can tell you it's hard. Let's see. I will send a link to this because this seems like a good article. Because I think with the latest release, pretty much making ChatGPT free for most folks, that it kind of removes the need to pay for it. I'm one of those people that pays for subscriptions and kind of forgets about them. And then, 6 months later, I'm like, where's $20 going each month? Oh, yeah. So yeah, if you're not using it again on a daily basis, if you don't have some very unique use case, just use the free version. There's really no need to pay for it. I need to just stop my subscription, to be honest. But with the paid version, I believe you can create your own GPTs, which is really fun. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you.
Any
All
other
right,
questions?
that's it for me, Jake.
All right, yeah. Thanks for coming, everyone. And don't know when my next session is going to be for this user group, but if you want, you can always come hang out with me on Saturday for Milwaukee Salesforce Saturday. So other than that, I don't have anything else to cover today. And thanks you, LC. Give you a round of applause, but I don't think you could hear it from here. So.
Do you want me to share the presentation with you, or?
Yeah, if you want to share the deck with me, we did record it, so I'm going to see where that recording goes, and then if I right with you, LC, I was going to put it on my channel for the developer group there, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
It's easier to share it that way.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I'll share it with you, and then you can blast it out to everyone else.
All right, cool.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate you hanging by, and I'm on LinkedIn. If you haven't connected with me already, connect with me there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that come up. All right.